Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my review of the original Twilight Zone TV series. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, links to social media, ways to listen to the show, and ways to support the show at the website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And please also check out the links in every episode description, as they are there are links there for friends of the show who have supported it, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, and her own channel, and Michael Strange and Trouble Minds Radio, both the show and the network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can listen to amazing shows from a lot of great people all day long, 24/7. And really enjoying these review shows. And so yeah, I want to get back into these. I like to do these and then save them for when I need to take a week off for whatever reason, and then give you all just a week of these kinds of shows. So, moving on to the next episode here. This one is called The Rip Van Winkle Caper. So, this is about 4 experts in criminal, basically, crime, and they have just pulled off a major heist. Mr. Farwell is an expert on basically noxious gases, poisons, other things like that. He was a former professor, and he has a doctorate in both chemistry and physics. There's a Mr. Erbie, E-R-B-I-E, who's an expert in mechanical engineering. Mr. Brooks, who is an expert in the use of firearms and other weapons. And Mr. DeCruz, who is an expert in demolitions and various forms of destruction, as in explosives and things like that, apparently. And they have just escaped in a truck after stealing over $1 million, and this is back in 1960. And they've taken $1 million worth of gold from a train that was running from Fort Knox, the one that has all the gold, supposedly, to Los Angeles. And so they have escaped the train and are running from the law. And Farwell has this plan to go into hiding with these other 3 criminals. And his idea is that they are going to he's designed these suspended animation chambers so that they can enter these chambers and basically sleep for 100 years. And of course, the idea there is that by that time, there won't be anyone from any of the authorities pursuing them anymore, because the crime will have been long forgotten. And so he expects that once they wake up from this 100-year sleep, they'll be able to sell the gold without raising any suspicion. And the 2 of the 3 men are fine with this plan, even though they don't really understand all of the details. One of them, DeCruz, is not sure about it. And but they all go into the chambers, and everything is set up. And when they wake up, they find that Irby has died in his chamber. This happened because his chamber had been broken open by a falling rock, which allowed the gases that supposedly caused the suspended animation to happen, allowed those gases to escape. And of course, when they look in the chamber, they just see bones of this man in there instead. So the Cruz offers to guard the gold in their truck while Brooks, let me see here. And but yeah, offers to guard the gold while Brooks drives to civilization. But Brooks doesn't believe the Cruz and doesn't trust him, and insists that the Cruz drives. And the so the Cruz kills Brooks with the truck. But when the brakes fail, he falls out and leaves the truck to crash into a ravine. And so at the end, Farwell and Dr. De Cruz are forced to walk through the desert in the summer heat, carrying as much gold as they can in backpacks, basically. So already this is not going as they had planned. Along the road, Farwell finds that he has lost his canteen of water and begins trading gold bars to De Cruz in exchange for some of De Cruz's water. And of course, over time, De Cruz increases the price for every sip of water. And Farwell attacks De Cruz with one of these gold bars and ends up killing him. And of course, Farwell gathers up as much gold as he can and can carry and continues on, but has to eventually discard, just get rid of it over time as the weight becomes too much to actually physically bear. And he eventually, because he has no water, he collapses and he goes unconscious for a time. And when he comes back to, he finds a man standing over him, and he offers his last gold bar to the man in exchange for water and a ride back to the nearest town. But he dies before the man is able to respond. So this man goes back to his car, which looks very futuristic, and he has the gold bar in his hands, and he tells his wife that the man that he found, Farwell, is dead. And he says that Farwell offered him a gold bar as if it were valuable. And that's when it's revealed that this is indeed the future. And she reminds him that people in the previous century used gold for money. But that was a long time ago. And that was before humans found a way to basically make gold a lot easier, or to manufacture it and make it and use it. So in the end, this whole caper did not work out, except the part where, of course, the people involved literally did sleep for 100 years. It's very, in a way, it's sort of, obviously it's a play on the idea of crime doesn't pay. But it's also done so well with the way just everything falls apart as soon as they have the gold and as soon as they wake up. And so it's a good episode. And it brings up an interesting question. What are things really worth, and how long do they stay worth anything? And how long will they be worth anything as technology changes and other things take the place of the objects that were worth anything before, and of course now we're in a place where money isn't even completely physical anymore. You have digital currency. So It was a neat show, and definitely recommend it. The acting was good, and it just it was a neat story. Excuse me. So, moving on to the next episode here. Also, I don't really have much to say about that show in terms of reports of paranormal experiences. It sort of still touches on the idea of just finding yourself in a different time. Of course, they use technology to go into suspended animation for 100 years. I'm wondering when that idea first came around in fiction, because that is a little ways back for that to be used in the show. But there's not a ton of sort of paranormal connections I can make to reports of experiences overall, but it was still a neat story. And it does sort of, in a different way, touch on the idea of people being from different times, finding themselves in unfamiliar situations. So, moving on to the next episode here, once I click on it to go there. Next one is season 2, episode 25, and it's called The Silence. This is about there's a man that is he's going let's see, I lost his spot. Okay, so there's this man that's carrying a note across a room in some kind of a club, and a wager. He has a wager that he wants to give to someone else in the club who he does not care for. And this other man, so let me get back to the names here. The show starts with a Colonel Archie Taylor. He has a hard time enjoying himself at this men's club because of another individual there, whose name is Jamie Tennyson. Because basically, this Jamie Tennyson will never be quiet. And so, in an effort to get some peace, some quiet in this club that he does enjoy, Taylor bets Tennyson that bets him $500,000 in back in the 60s here, that that Tennyson cannot remain silent for 1 year. And if Tennyson accepts the bet, the wager, Taylor says that he will have a small glass-walled apartment set up in the club where Tennyson will be monitored by microphones so that he cannot speak without detection. And all Tennyson can do to communicate is use notes. And the other members may, of course, watch through the glass. And of course, Tennyson is offended, and he agrees, because he says he needs the money to pay off debts that have amounted because of course, this is TV and this is the 60s. His, which I don't know if that means anything or not, but his wife's spending on basically jewelry and other items that cost a lot of money. And so he says that he asks Taylor to put a check on deposit in his name up for the offer for the wager, but no one in the club will agree to this, as Taylor has more longer tenure at the club than anyone else there, and so the rest of the club members there who are witnessing all this don't feel that this is necessary. So the wager is agreed on, and Taylor figures that he'll win in a few weeks. But Tennyson is able to stay silent for 9 months. So Taylor gets nervous and offers to pay Tennyson to call off the bet, starting at $1,000 before bumping it up to $6,000. But Tennyson refuses. And of course, Taylor, now you can see in the show and hear it in his voice, he's getting desperate. And he suggests that Tennyson's wife is planning to leave him for another man. And she has never responded to any of Tennyson's written requests for a visit, which is why Taylor says this and figures this about Tennyson's wife. So Tennyson is desperate, and but he continues on with the bet. And on the last evening of this full year of being quiet, Taylor, one of the other club members tells Taylor that his behavior over the last year has been unacceptable, and it's really damaged Taylor's image to the other members of the club. And so, meanwhile, the clock in the club chimes to signal that 1 year has actually passed. So Tennyson leaves the cube, which is basically what it is, and everyone congratulates him on winning the bet. And Taylor, so Tennyson approaches Taylor and puts his hand out for the money. And Taylor, of course, is embarrassed and admits that he does not have the money to pay off the wager. He lost the money several years earlier. And he tells Tennyson that you basically won. And Taylor decides to leave the club. And Tennyson starts writing a note on a sheet of paper. And but this is confusing to everyone because he doesn't need to be silent anymore. And Taylor reads this note, and it says basically that Tennyson knew he wouldn't be able to resist talking for a year. So just before this bet started, he had the nerves in his vocal cords severed. So he literally could not talk, even if he wanted to. And he shows apparently a scar on his throat from the operation. And which of course he had hidden under various pieces of clothing over that year. So in the end, neither of them have really won anything. So again, this is another one of those shows where there's not a ton there as far as paranormal stuff, but it does sort of show what can happen when that much is wagered, and the conditions are that extreme. So yeah, it was an amazing episode and very well done, and the acting and everything was very well done. So it is weird with to me anyway, because I've never been in one of those kinds of places, but they come up here and there in the series, and it's always it's weird when they do, because I've just never been to one of those kinds of places before. But yeah, looking at the chat here, Sonia says it's pretty crazy how a lot of the shows are directed to how people thought the ultra rich experience life. Yeah, there's definitely some of that in there, and in some of the episodes, definitely that one. And so yeah, it was a neat one overall. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to starting the third season when I do. It'll be pretty soon here, and getting into that. So yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. Just that I do wonder about, because I've talked before. We've talked before on the show about how bars and restaurants tend to be. There seem to be a lot of those that are said to be haunted. I wonder how often that is the case with these kinds of locations where there's a lot of gambling involved and money passing from one person to another, and all these emotions, especially over huge amounts of money that are won or lost. I wonder. I may need to look into some possible haunted casinos and that kind of thing at some point, because that may be a good topic to get into at some point. Because I can imagine there being some energy moving around those kinds of places, and some things like that happening there. So please, again, remember to check out all the episode descriptions. And also, I should mention this. What do you all think we should do when we get to episode 1000? It probably won't be for another year, I'm thinking. Maybe even more than a year. But I think we should do something special for that, because we're getting closer. We're at, as of right now, there are 756 episodes released. So it's only another 244 to go. And I usually release 4 per week. So that's what, 61? So yeah, a little bit over a year to go before we reach episode 1000. So if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions about what you'd like to hear for that show, I'd be happy to check that out and see what we can do. Yeah, there's a lot of places I'd like to go to in terms of casinos and things like that, just to see if I notice anything. Although I don't know if I could do that for very long, because they're just always so loud and filled with lights and everything else like that. But yeah, so that's basically it. Please check all the links in every episode description, and follow all the friends of the show that do their own shows, their own projects, whatever they may be. And yeah, I'd love to hear any feedback on what I just mentioned there. I'll put a post in the Discord about it too, so we can maybe start considering that well in advance of when it's going to happen. So, but yeah, and I only have a few more episodes left of the second season to review. Then I'll be recording those. Probably I'll finish off season 2, reviewing season 2 of the Twilight Zone within the next week or so, and I will go from there. Thank you all for being here and listening in, and chatting whenever you're able. And I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.